exchanged views in an in-depth manner on global governance, and we reached a lot of important common understanding. Both China and France are important participants of global governance. When it comes to the maintenance of world peace, security, and stability, upholding multilateralism and free trade, and supporting the UN in playing a greater role, we share extensive political consensus and strong foundation for cooperation. China and France are both committed to mutual respect, mutual trust, equality, openness, inclusiveness, and win-win results, and we stand by together the basic norms governing international relations, and we work jointly to improve global governance. And we have become important force for maintaining world peace and stability and promoting human progress. Just now we spent over an hour on the discussion of global governance. The four of us, together with President Macron, Chancellor Merkel, and President Juncker, we discussed multilateralism, China-EU strategic partnership, and how this partnership will evolve in the future. And we engaged in in-depth discussions, and that has produced further consensus. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, 2 years ago, when I was speaking at the UN office at Geneva, I asked a series of questions. What is wrong with today's world, and what do we do about it? Well, today's world is going through once-in-a-century transformation. While peace and development remain the dominating trend of the time, there are more uncertainties and destabilizing factors. The world is confronted with a lot of common challenges. There is a French proverb that goes, "Everyone is the craftsman of his own fate." So as the world is confronted with grave challenges, and when human being is at a crossroads with a choice to make, all the countries need to take up the sense of responsibility and take concrete actions rather than standing on the sideline, and work together to take the fate of human being in our own hands. To do that, first of all, we need to pursue fairness and equity in order to address governance deficit. Across the globe, hotspot issues keep emerging and continue unabated. Climate change, cybersecurity, refugee crisis, and other non-traditional security threats keep spreading. Protectionism, unilateralism are on the rise. The global governance system and multilateral system are facing strong headwinds. Therefore, we need to remain committed to joint consultation, joint contribution for shared benefits, which should be the vision for global governance. Global affairs should be decided by all the peoples, and we need to work together to bring greater democracy in the rules of global governance. We need to remain committed to the United Nations, which is the symbol of multilateralism, and give full play to the role of the WTO, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the G20, the European Union, and other global and regional multilateral systems. We need to fully leverage on their constructive roles and work together for a community with a shared future for mankind. Second, we need to continue to pursue consultation and mutual accommodation in order to address deficit in trust. Trust is the best glue for international relations and state-to-state relations. Well, right now, as we are seeing, there is greater competition and friction and more geopolitical rivalry. All this has eroded international trust and cooperation. What we need to do is to give priority to mutual respect and mutual trust to make the best use of all possible dialogue and consultation, and to work together to seek common ground and understanding while shelving differences and diffusing differences. We need to pursue candid and in-depth communication and dialogue to increase strategic mutual trust and reduce mutual suspicion. We need to pursue greater goods and shared interests, giving priority to the greater goods to build a global partnership that will bind all of us together. We need to promote inter-civilizational dialogue in order to increase mutual understanding, and that people across the world will build stronger friendship, respect each other, and trust each other. Well, for today's China-EU relationship, cooperation is the defining feature, even though there are differences or competition to some extent. Such competition is a constructive competition, and cooperation far outweighs competition, and we need to increase positive energy. We are marching forward side by side, and we are sharing will and woe. We cannot let mutual suspicion to get the better of us. And we must not always be guarded against each other and worry that they may do something behind our back. That is very important. That is something that we need to avoid. We need to take precautionary measures. Third, we need to stick together to address peace deficit. Well, in today's world, the security environment is still a source of concern. Local wars and regional conflicts are continuing, and the ongoing rampage of terrorism are devastating the lives of people in many parts of the world, in particular children. We need to pursue a new security vision that features common, comprehensive, cooperative, and sustainable security, reject the Cold War mentality and zero-sum game mentality, and the law of the jungle by which the strong prey on the weak. We need to pursue peace and security through cooperation and pursue settlement to disputes with peaceful means. We need to oppose willful use or threat of force, and oppose efforts to stir up trouble for self-serving interest. We need to stand against the beggar-thy-neighbor approach. What we should do is to join hands in pursuing a peaceful development path that will lead to enduring peace and stability in the world. Fourth, we need to pursue win-win outcome in order to address development deficit. Economic globalization is the engine of world economic growth. Right now, the trend against globalization is on the horizon. The negative implications of protectionism are clearly being felt. Inequality in distribution of income and disparity in development space have become the most prominent issues to tackle in global governance, global economic governance. We need to pursue innovation-driven development to build dynamic model for growth. We need to promote interconnected development to build cooperation model that will lead to win-win results. We need to remain committed to fairness and inclusion and build model for development that is balanced and win-win, so that the world population will share in the benefit of economic globalization. China will continue to push forward reform and opening up. That is for sure. because China has been pursuing reform and opening up for the past 4 decades, which has transformed this great country. With 40 years, we finished the journey of industrialization that took developed countries 300 years to finish. And we need to keep forging ahead. And when we do that, we will for sure continue with reform and opening up, and at the same time adapt ourselves to the new circumstances and open up further. China supports necessary reform to the World Trade Organization in order to build a more open world economy, maintain the multilateral trading system, and to guide economic globalization toward a healthy development. The Belt and Road Initiative has substantiated the vision for international economic cooperation and multilateralism. It provides an important pathway toward global growth and common development. China welcomes active participation of France and other countries in the building of the Belt and Road. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, China and France enjoy this long-standing friendship. This year marks the 55th anniversary of our diplomatic relations. Our two countries have already conducted a lot of strategic cooperation, and there is yet a lot of potential to further tap. As our friend said, if you want to get the best view of Paris, you have to mount the Eiffel Tower. Under the new circumstances, we need to stand high and look far and work together to intensify cooperation. We need to deepen traditional area cooperation, including nuclear energy, aviation and aerospace, agriculture and food, medical care and health, and automobile manufacturing. At the same time, we need to accelerate cooperation in emerging areas, such as the green manufacturing, digital economy, artificial intelligence, financial services, and sustainable development of cities. We also need to work more closely together on climate change and comprehensively implement the Paris Agreement, and to work together to bring about positive outcome from this year's UN Climate Summit in order to deliver greater benefits to our two peoples and people across the world. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, history, civilization, and humanity are always driven by ideas. This seminar on global governance will provide strong intellectual support for our two countries' efforts to participate in and promote global governance. It is my hope that our two sides and other parties will keep this channel of dialogue open, promote cooperation with more exchanges, and seek win-win outcome, and join hands in providing wisdom and strength to build a better home of this planet. Thank you.
Well, you've been watching live feed from Paris, the Élysée Palace, where Chinese President Xi Jinping was addressing the delegates at the Global Governance Forum. And he was also there with French President Emmanuel Macron, as well as German Chancellor Angela Merkel and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. And President Macron said that China has made clear indication of its intention to cut greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, climate change is high on President Macron's agenda. And he also said China-Europe cooperation is a prime example of how multilateralism could expand to address the challenges that we are facing today. He also hailed China's effort to lift 700 million people out of poverty. And of course, President Macron also called for open and greater transparency in its cooperation with China. And also he acknowledged that China and France have this shared vision to uphold multilateralism. And he also hailed the Belt and Road Initiative proposed by China, saying it is a way to contribute to stability and the peaceful coexistence of the peoples. And to echo President Macron's statement, Chinese President Xi Jinping said that China have this shared political consensus with France in holding the spirit of multilateralism. And he also acknowledged that the four parties, including China, France, Germany, as well as the European Commission, these leaders spent an hour or so discussing the future of multilateralism. And President Xi Jinping also welcomed the participation of France as well as other countries, including world organizations, to participate in the Belt and Road Forum. And he promised that China and France will expand their cooperation in nuclear energy, aviation sector, traditional sectors, as well as non-traditional, the new emergence industries, including AI and digital economies. And to discuss all this in greater detail, let me turn to our studio guest, Professor Jiang Shixue from Shanghai University. Welcome to our program, Professor. So what are your major takeaways from this summit?
Well, President Xi Jinping mentioned the China-EU relationship for the time being. Yes, he said that there are some kind of differences, and even in some areas there is competition between the two sides. Yeah. But he said that on the whole, the tendency towards the future is bright. So he suggests that there will be more cooperation in the traditional sectors and also non-traditional sectors. Mm. And one more point which has left a deep impression on me, on my mind, is President Xi Jinping's call for joint cooperation in the field of global governance. As we saw just now, there's a seminar on global governance between the two sides. You know, nowadays we are faced with so many global issues. So what should we do? Well, the only way is to push forward global governance. And global issues is not kind of dangerous for one nation. It's for the whole mankind. So the best way to deal with this kind of global issues is to promote cooperation between different countries, among different countries. And President Xi Jinping mentioned that we are now in the same boat. We need to join hands to deal with these kind of things. And he also mentioned that in order to promote global governance, China and France and the EU should strengthen strategic trust. You know, strategic trust is very important. Without this kind of thing, you cannot achieve anything at all. Mm-hmm. And also, finally, President Xi Jinping mentioned that China is going to continue to push forward its open door policy. And not long ago, as we said that the People's Congress in China has approved the new foreign investment law. And this kind of law means China is going to welcome more investment from Europe and other parts of the world. So I would say President Xi Jinping's speech can serve a kind of guidelines for the future direction of the China-EU relationship.
Mm-hmm. Well, President Xi Jinping also promised to pursue fairness and equity and pursue consultation and accommodation of each other's core interests and stick together to address peace deficit and pursue win-win outcome to address development deficit. And we're going to talk more about this in just a moment, but now let's take a look at this. Chinese President Xi Jinping has held talks with German Chancellor Angela Merkel and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker and French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris. The leaders also held a press conference after their meeting. President Xi hailed the contribution of China and France as the attendees of global governance. Take a listen.
中法同为全球治理的重要参与者。
Both China and France are important participants of global governance. When it comes to the maintenance of world peace, security, and stability, upholding multilateralism and free trade, and supporting the UN in playing a greater role, we share extensive political consensus and strong foundation for cooperation. China and France are both committed to mutual respect, mutual trust, equality, openness, inclusiveness, and win-win results, and we stand by together the basic norms governing international relations, and we work jointly to improve global governance. And we have become important force for maintaining world peace and stability and promoting human progress.
Well, Professor Jiang, let's talk more about this. President Xi Jinping says that China stands ready to strengthen strategic communication and coordination with friends as well as the European Commission to tackle major issues of global significance, including UN affairs, as well as the WTO reform and climate change. So what specific roles can they each play in these processes?
Well, first of all, we must point out that the so-called multilateralism is built upon the so-called current international order. And this kind of international order is composed of, as you mentioned, the WTO, the UN, and the global financial systems. Well, many people in the West criticize China as a kind of revisionist, but this kind of criticism is not correct. Well, China says that we need to reform the current system, but not to smash down the whole system at all. So there are some kind of shortcomings, and both EU and China should join hands to improve this kind of shortcomings. Look at the WTO system. As you know, that the protectionist is on the rise. So China and the EU or France are the victims of this kind of trade protectionist. So we need to do something about it. And also the financial system is also has some kind of shortcomings. Now the international financial system is dominated by the US dollar. And France and China should join hands because the currency euro is playing a very important role. You know, on the whole, I think as President Xi Jinping said, we have so many common grounds to deal with this kind of global issues. So I would say in this whole process, there will be some kind of differences. But I should say, as you also mentioned, the climate change. And
climate change is, of course, very high on President Macron's agenda. President Xi Jinping didn't make new pledges. He renewed China's commitment to cutting greenhouse gas emissions.
Yes, as a matter of fact, over the past several years, China has achieved a lot. And China's achievements has been recognized by the global, I would say, by every country in the world. Now, for this climate change, we have already agreed on a basic principle. It's called common but differentiated responsibility. And every country should do something. And China has done its part as a developing country, but some country, well, as you know, the US has withdrawn from the Paris climate agreement. I hope no other country will follow the steps of the US. So the Paris climate agreement is a milestone for global cooperation. So I think that's why France looks at this kind of agreement with a very happy mood. So China supports France in achieving this kind of global responsibility. Yeah. So, well, in the future, we need to do more to ensure that this Paris climate agreement can be fully implemented.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Professor Jiang Shixue, for sharing with us your thoughts on this. And that's going to do it for this hour's update, our special coverage on Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to France. And now up next is Asia Today. Stay with me.